Victor's life had always seemed perfect from the outside. To the world, he was a successful billionaire, admired and envied in equal measure. His mansion was grand, his cars luxurious, and his life filled with invitations to the most exclusive events. But behind the walls of his high-rise office and enormous home, Victor felt a strange emptiness that he never admitted to anyone. He had wealth, power, and influence, but his relationship with his daughter, Leela, was strained. He knew it, and deep down, he felt guilty about it, though he rarely allowed himself to think about it. Leela was a bright, energetic girl of 7, full of curiosity and mischief. She loved running through the mansion's gardens, asking questions about the world and telling stories from her school. But often, her laughter was met with distraction. Victor was always busy with meetings, phone calls, or business trips. His wife, Isabella, tried her best to manage the house and care for Leela. But even she could not replace the presence of a father who truly engaged with his child. The distance grew quietly over the years, unnoticed by the outside world, yet painfully clear to those who lived within the walls of the mansion. Anya, the maid, had been with the family for over 5 years. She was calm, patient, and deeply devoted to Leela. The little girl loved her like an older sister, and Anya treated Leela like her own child. Anya had seen Victor at his busiest and at his most distant. She had witnessed the quiet moments when he looked at Leela with pride but never knew how to connect with her. She had also witnessed his frustration when Leela's innocence clashed with the rules of the household. But Anya never complained. She understood the pressures Victor faced. She made it her mission to ensure Leela always felt safe and loved. One afternoon, Victor decided to leave the office earlier than usual. He had a free hour before a scheduled charity meeting and thought he might surprise Leela with a quick visit. The idea of seeing her smile at him filled him with a sense of hope that he had been missing. He imagined playing in the garden, hearing her stories, and feeling that genuine connection he longed for. He parked his car outside the mansion and walked through the grand entrance, smiling at the familiar sights. But as he stepped into the house, a strange silence greeted him. The usual chatter of the staff and Leela's laughter was gone. The air felt heavy, almost suffocating, and his heart began to race. Victor called out for Leela, expecting her to run around the corner with a giggle. Instead, he heard nothing. He walked further into the living room and froze. There, sitting on the sofa, was Anya holding Leela close to her chest. The little girl's face was pale, and her small arms and legs had visible bruises. Victor's stomach dropped, and panic surged through him like electricity. Every fear he had buried came rushing to the surface. He rushed forward, his voice trembling. Leela, what happened? Anya's eyes were wide with worry, but she spoke calmly, trying to reassure both Leela and Victor. She fell at the playground, sir. I found her crying and brought her here immediately. She's hurt, but she'll be okay. Please, don't be angry with her. Victor's chest tightened. He felt a mix of anger, fear, and helplessness. His mind raced, trying to process the scene before him. How could this happen? Who was responsible? Why wasn't he there? For a moment, he was too shocked to speak, and all he could do was stare at his daughter. Feeling the weight of every missed moment in her life, Leela clung to Anya, tears streaming down her face. Victor knelt beside them, his hands shaking. He gently took Leela in his arms, feeling the warmth of her small body and the trembling beneath her bruised skin. His own eyes filled with tears as he whispered, It's okay, Leela. Daddy's here now. Daddy's here. Anya watched silently, holding back her own emotions. She knew Victor was a man of pride, a man who rarely showed vulnerability. And she could see that momentarily all his walls had come down. Victor's usual composure had vanished, replaced by raw emotion that left him exposed and human. Anya had always seen glimpses of this side of him, but never so fully. Victor stood and immediately called Isabella. His voice was sharp, tinged with panic. Isabella, where were you? Leela is hurt. We need to get her to the hospital now. Isabella's voice was frantic on the other end, and the argument that followed was filled with blame and frustration. But Victor barely noticed. All he could focus on was getting his daughter to safety. He gently placed Leela into the car. Anya riding alongside to comfort her and drove to the hospital, his mind racing with every possible outcome. The hospital waiting room was quiet, except for the occasional announcement over the speaker. Victor sat by Leela's side, holding her hand tightly. He watched as the nurses and doctors examined her, checking for injuries that could have serious consequences. Each time they spoke of minor fractures or bruises, his heart pounded in his chest. He realized how fragile life could be, and how quickly everything he took for granted could change. Anya stayed close, whispering soothing words to Lila, wiping away tears, and making sure she felt safe. Victor watched her, suddenly aware of the immense role she had played in protecting his daughter. He felt a surge of gratitude, mixed with guilt for not noticing sooner. Here was someone who had cared for Leela as fiercely as he should have. Someone who had acted in the moment without hesitation, as the doctors reassured him that Lila would be fine. Victor felt a strange relief wash over him, but the incident had awakened something deep inside him. He realized that money and power could not shield him from fear, could not replace love, and could not make up for lost time. His daughter's safety, her happiness, and her trust were far more valuable than any deal or business success. That night, back at the mansion, Victor stayed by Leela's side as she slept. Anya had prepared a warm bath, applied ointments to her bruises, and tucked her into bed. Victor watched them, feeling a newfound respect for the woman who had cared for his child with such devotion. He reflected on the moments he had missed, the calls he had ignored, and the times he had chosen work over family. The guilt was heavy, but it also fueled a determination to change. Victor realized that life was fragile, and moments like these were precious. He could not undo the past, but he could make a choice for the future. He promised himself that he would be more present, that he would truly see and hear his daughter, and that he would acknowledge the people who had quietly supported and protected his family. The night stretched on, and as Victor sat there watching Lila sleep peacefully in Anya's gentle care, he felt a shift within himself. The fear and panic had passed, leaving behind clarity. He understood that strength was not just measured by wealth or power, but by the ability to act with love, empathy, and courage in the moments that truly mattered. And he knew deep down that his response to this incident would define him far more than any business achievement ever could. Victor finally allowed himself to rest. But sleep was elusive. Images of his daughter's bruised arms and legs stayed with him, mingling with memories of her laughter and innocence. He knew that tomorrow would bring decisions, conversations, and perhaps even difficult changes. But tonight, he simply stayed with her. He stayed present in a way he had never truly done before, realizing that sometimes the most powerful actions are not about control or authority, but about being there when it matters most, and so, in that quiet mansion. With a worried maid watching over them and a father's heart heavy with emotion, the first step toward change had begun. Victor's world had shifted in a single afternoon, and while fear had driven him to act, love and gratitude would guide him in the days to come. Victor stayed at the hospital for hours, refusing to leave Lila's side. He held her hand as the doctors examined her, each touch, each question from the staff reminding him of how small and fragile she really was. Lila's tears had dried, but her eyes were still wide with worry. She clung to Anya's presence, finding comfort in the familiar warmth of someone who had always been there for her. Victor watched this quietly, his heart heavy with both guilt and awe. He had never truly noticed before how much Anya did for his daughter. He realized now that she had been the invisible shield protecting Leela from the world, a role he had ignored for far too long. The doctors explained that Lila had several bruises, minor fractures, and deep red marks where she had fallen. It had been a serious accident, and if Anya had not acted quickly, the situation could have been much worse. Victor listened carefully, but the words felt distant. All he could see were the images of Leela crying and the thought of her suffering. Every time he thought of how close she had been to real danger, he felt a surge of anger at himself for not being there, and at the school for not paying better attention. Anya gently brushed Lila's hair away from her face, whispering soft words that made her relax slightly. Victor noticed how naturally she moved, how effortlessly she calmed the little girl. He felt a pang of envy and gratitude at the same time. He knew that his wealth and influence could not replace the presence and love Anya offered. And for the first time, he truly understood what it meant to be grateful to someone for more than just a service. Anya had saved his daughter's sense of safety and well-being in that crucial moment. After a long examination, the doctors assured Victor that Lila would recover fully, though it would take some time. They recommended rest, light activities, and constant observation. Victor nodded, holding back tears as relief washed over him. He thanked the doctors profusely, feeling as if they had given him his child back, whole and alive. As soon as the formalities were done, he helped Anya wheel Lila back to the car. He insisted on driving, though his hands were still shaky, as if the weight of the afternoon had left its mark on his very body. During the ride home, Victor glanced at Lila, sleeping against Anya's shoulder, and realized how precious these moments were. She was small, vulnerable, and yet so strong in her innocence. Victor felt a deep responsibility he could no longer ignore. He realized that money could never buy the safety and love that she needed. His mind wandered to the countless hours he had spent chasing deals and contracts while missing moments like this. He felt a mix of regret and determination, knowing that he had to change his priorities immediately. Back at the mansion, Isabella met them at the door. Her face was pale, and her eyes showed a mix of guilt and relief. Victor barely spoke to her at first, instead focusing on helping Lila out of the car and ensuring she was comfortable. The house felt unusually quiet, almost holding its breath in anticipation. Victor carried Lila to her room, where Anya gently helped her settle onto the bed. She applied a cool cloth to the bruised areas and gave Lila some water. Victor watched every movement, noticing small details he had never paid attention to before: the care in Anya's touch, the concern in her voice, and the patience she had always shown. Once Lila was settled, Victor took Anya aside. His voice was low, but filled with gratitude and respect. "You acted quickly. You stayed calm. You were there for her when I wasn't. I can't thank you enough." Anya smiled softly, her eyes glistening. "I just did what I had to, sir. She's like family. I would do anything to keep her safe." Victor felt a lump in his throat. For so long, he had been focused on control, money, and appearances, believing they defined him. But in this moment, he realized that true strength and heroism came from selfless action, care, and presence. Anya had demonstrated courage and love in a way that he had never done before, and he knew that he needed to learn from her example. Later that evening, Victor sat alone in his office, reflecting on the day's events. He thought about how easily life could change in an instant. One moment, everything seemed normal, predictable, and secure. The next moment, fear and panic could invade a life built on wealth and status. He realized that Lila's happiness and well-being could never be replaced by anything money could buy. He felt a deep responsibility not only to protect her, but also to be present in her life. It was no longer acceptable to be absent. No longer acceptable to allow distance to grow between them. Victor also thought about his wife, Isabella. The tension earlier in the hospital had shown him that their priorities were not aligned as they should be. He understood that blaming her would not solve anything. Instead, he needed to work together with her to ensure Lila's safety and happiness. He resolved to have honest conversations, to create an environment where their daughter felt loved, supported, and truly seen. Anya quietly entered the office, bringing some tea. She handed it to him with a small smile, respecting his space while offering comfort. Victor noticed how considerate she was, always mindful of boundaries, yet always present. He realized that he had overlooked this for years, taking her dedication for granted. Now, he could not ignore it any longer. Her loyalty, her courage, and her love for Lila had proven invaluable. He wanted to ensure that Anya felt recognized and appreciated, not just for her actions today, but for every moment she had silently cared for his family. Victor poured himself a cup of tea, taking slow sips as he considered his next steps. He knew he had to change. He had to be more than a distant figure who occasionally gave gifts or attention. He had to be a father who was present, a husband who was supportive, and a person who valued the quiet heroes in his life. He thought about the long hours he had spent in meetings, the nights he had missed bedtime stories, and the weekends he had spent away on business trips. None of that mattered now. What mattered was Lila, her safety, and the relationships he had neglected. The night passed slowly. Victor stayed close to Lila, sometimes holding her hand, sometimes watching over her as she slept. He observed Anya's dedication, noting every gesture, every whisper, every effort to make the little girl comfortable. The scene made him reflect on his own shortcomings and the things he had taken for granted. It was a lesson he would never forget. The combination of fear, relief, and gratitude had awakened something profound within him. He knew he could never go back to ignoring what truly mattered. In the quiet hours of the night, Victor made a promise to himself. He would be a better father, a better husband, and a better human being. He would not allow his ambition to overshadow the relationships that gave life meaning, and he would honor those who quietly acted with courage and love like Anya, who had demonstrated that heroism often comes from the most unexpected places. As dawn approached, Victor finally allowed himself a moment of rest. Lila was still sleeping peacefully, Anya sitting nearby, her eyes heavy with fatigue but full of satisfaction. Victor watched them, feeling a deep sense of clarity and resolve. Today had been terrifying, painful, and eye-opening, but it had also offered him a glimpse of what truly mattered. And he knew that, from this day forward, he would do everything in his power to ensure that Lila, Anya, and his family would always feel safe, loved, and valued. The following morning, the mansion felt different. The quiet that usually accompanied the early hours was now filled with a sense of reflection. Victor woke early, pacing his office, thinking about the events of the previous day. Lila was still asleep, Anya sitting nearby, reading quietly and occasionally glancing at the little girl to ensure she was comfortable. The sight made Victor realize how much he had missed by being absent. How many little moments he had overlooked that truly mattered in life. Victor decided to speak with Anya directly, wanting to understand her perspective. He knew she had always cared deeply for Lila, but he had never taken the time to see the depth of her devotion. He asked her gently, "Anya, tell me what you were thinking when you found her. How did you manage to stay so calm?" Anya paused, choosing her words carefully. "Sir, I only did what anyone would do for a child they care about. Lila trusts me, and I promised myself I would always protect her. When I saw her fall, I had to act quickly. There was no time to panic. My only thought was to keep her safe." Victor listened intently, feeling a growing admiration for her courage. He realized that in his busy life, he had never considered the small acts of bravery and care that went unnoticed every day. Anya had been the silent guardian of his daughter, and now he understood that her role was far more important than he had imagined. It was not her job title that mattered, but the love and protection she had offered when it was needed most. As Lila woke, rubbing her eyes, Victor greeted her with a warm smile and soft words. "Good morning, my little one. How do you feel today?" Lila smiled weakly, showing the small bruises on her arms. She hugged Anya first and then turned to Victor. "Daddy, I'm okay. I was scared, but Anya was here. She held me tight." Victor felt a lump in his throat. The words were simple, but their meaning was profound. Lila had been safe because of Anya, not him, and yet she included him in her expression of relief and gratitude. Victor realized that this was a moment he could never forget, a lesson that wealth and status could never teach. The bonds of love and care were built in moments like these, not in business deals or luxury. Later, Victor called the school. He spoke firmly with the principal, emphasizing the importance of supervision and safety. He insisted that more attention be given to the children and that all staff be trained to respond to emergencies quickly. He wanted to ensure that no child would face the same danger again. The principal promised full cooperation, recognizing the urgency and sincerity in Victor's voice. Victor felt a sense of responsibility not just as a parent, but as someone who could influence change for the better. Back at home, Victor spent the day with Lila in the garden. They played small games, read stories, and laughed together, creating memories that had been missing for years. Every laugh, every smile, every touch felt like a gift he had been blind to for too long. Anya observed quietly, her presence reassuring to both father and daughter. Victor realized that true connection did not come from grandeur or wealth, but from being present. From engaging genuinely with the ones you love, Victor also began to reflect on his own habits. He recognized that he had allowed work to consume his life, prioritizing meetings and contracts over moments that truly mattered. He promised himself that he would change, that he would balance his responsibilities with love and attention for his family. He knew it would take effort and commitment, but he was determined to make a real difference. As the day progressed, Victor called Isabella to discuss the situation calmly. They spoke honestly about what had happened, acknowledging mistakes without placing blame. The conversation was difficult, but necessary. Victor understood that partnership was crucial in parenting, and that mutual support would ensure Leela's safety and happiness. Isabella agreed, realizing that they both needed to be more present and attentive. The incident had shaken them, but it also opened a door to deeper understanding and cooperation. Anya continued to play a pivotal role throughout the day. She prepared meals carefully, ensured that Lila's comfort was prioritized, and quietly guided both Victor and Isabella in small ways that made a big difference. Victor watched her, realizing how much he had underestimated her contributions. He understood now that heroes often worked behind the scenes, without recognition or reward, and that their actions could change lives in profound ways. That evening, Victor sat with Anya and Leela, watching the sunset from the mansion's terrace. The colors of the sky seemed brighter, more vivid, as if reflecting the clarity and hope he felt inside. He spoke softly, sharing his thoughts and feelings with Anya. "I want you to know that your actions yesterday meant more than words can express. You kept my daughter safe when I couldn't. I will never forget that. And I will do everything I can to make sure you and your family are cared for and respected." Anya smiled, a mix of humility and pride in her eyes. "Sir, I only did what I felt was right. Lila is like family. That is all that matters to me," Victor nodded, realizing that gratitude and recognition could mean more than money alone. He understood that true appreciation was shown through respect, care, and acknowledgement of effort. He resolved to make changes not only in his personal life, but also in the way he treated those who worked for and supported his family. As night fell, Victor reflected on the day's events. He thought about the fragility of life, the importance of presence, and the lessons learned from those who acted with courage and love. Leela was safe, but the experience had opened his eyes to the responsibilities he had neglected. He knew that being wealthy did not make him invincible, and that true strength came from compassion, attention, and action. Victor also made plans to support Anya and her family. He wanted to ensure that her dedication was not just acknowledged, but rewarded in meaningful ways. He considered ways to provide her with financial security, educational opportunities for her children, and a safe, comfortable living environment. He knew that these gestures would show genuine gratitude and respect, would honor the role she had played in his family's life. By the end of the day, Victor felt a sense of peace mixed with determination. He had witnessed courage and love firsthand, and he knew that his life could no longer continue as it had before. He promised himself to prioritize what truly mattered, to be present for Leela, and to honor those who acted with selflessness and care. The lessons from this day would stay with him forever, shaping the way he approached his relationships, responsibilities, and life itself. And as he watched Lila sleep peacefully that night, with Anya sitting quietly nearby, Victor understood that the most important victories were not measured in wealth or power, but in moments of love, protection, and genuine connection. The day had been a turning point, and he was determined to make the future brighter, safer, and filled with the kind of care that money alone could never provide. Victor woke early, feeling a sense of purpose he hadn't known before. The events of the past few days had changed him deeply. He looked at Lila, still sleeping peacefully in her bed, and felt an overwhelming urge to protect, guide, and love her more than ever. He realized that being a father was not about giving gifts or providing luxury, but about being present, attentive, and genuinely caring. He had missed so many moments, and he knew that he could not let another day pass without showing his love and appreciation. After breakfast, Victor gathered his thoughts and called Anya into the study. He wanted to talk to her directly, not as a superior, but but as someone who genuinely appreciated her courage and devotion. "Anya," he said softly, "I want to make sure you know how much your actions meant. You saved my daughter's sense of safety, and I cannot thank you enough. I want to help you and your family, not because you expect it, but because you deserve it." Anya looked surprised but grateful. She had always been humble, never seeking recognition for her work. "Sir, I don't need anything. I just want Lila to be safe and happy. That is enough for me." Victor shook his head gently. "No, Anya. You have done more than anyone could expect. I want to make sure you are taken care of, and I want you to know that I see and respect all that you do." He decided to provide Anya with financial security for her family, a comfortable home, and educational support for her children. He wanted her to know that her dedication and bravery would never go unnoticed. For Victor, this was not about showing off his wealth, but about expressing genuine gratitude to someone who had demonstrated remarkable courage and care. Later in the day, Victor spent time with Lila in the garden. They played simple games, read books, and shared stories. Victor noticed how much she had grown and how much he had missed by being absent. Every laugh, every smile, every hug felt precious. He realized that the simple moments mattered more than any business deal or luxury item. He promised himself to cherish these moments and to be present in her life consistently. Anya watched quietly from a distance, offering support when needed. Victor noticed how naturally she moved, always anticipating Lila's needs and providing comfort. He understood that her dedication went beyond her duties. She had become an essential part of their family's well-being, someone whose love and care had made a significant difference in Lila's life. Victor felt a deep sense of respect and admiration for her, realizing that true heroism often came from the smallest, unnoticed actions. Victor also reached out to Isabella to strengthen their partnership in parenting. They spoke openly and honestly about what had happened, acknowledging their mistakes and committing to being more attentive and supportive. Victor knew that a united approach was crucial for Lila's well-being. He wanted their daughter to feel safe, loved, and valued by both her parents, and he was determined to take responsibility for his part in her life. Throughout the day, Victor reflected on the lessons he had learned. He realized that fear and panic could lead to growth if handled with reflection and empathy. The incident with Lila had shown him the importance of presence, vigilance, and gratitude. He understood that wealth and power were not enough to protect those he loved, and that genuine care required action, attention, and compassion. Victor also began planning ways to make a broader impact. He considered supporting children's safety programs, parental awareness campaigns, and initiatives that recognized unsung heroes like Anya. He wanted to ensure that other families could benefit from the lessons he had learned. For him, this was no longer just about his own family, but about creating a positive influence on the community. That evening, Victor gathered Lila, Anya, and Isabella in the living room. He spoke from the heart, expressing his gratitude and appreciation for their presence, love, and care. "I have learned something important these past days," he said. "Life is fragile, and the people we care about are the most valuable part of it. I want to be present to protect and to love fully. And I want to make sure that those who support us, who care for us, are recognized and valued." Anya smiled, feeling appreciated in a way she never had before. Lila snuggled close to her father, feeling safe and loved. Isabella, too, felt a sense of understanding and unity that had been missing before. The family sat together, not as individuals focused on wealth or status, but as people connected by love, care, and mutual respect. Victor knew that change would not happen overnight. He understood that he needed to continue building trust, spending time, and nurturing the relationships that truly mattered. He also recognized that actions spoke louder than words. His commitment to Anya and his family would be shown through consistent effort, presence, and support as the night fell. Victor watched Lila sleep, Anya sitting nearby, and Isabella preparing for the next day. He felt a profound sense of clarity and purpose. The events of the past few days had reshaped his priorities and perspective. He had learned that true strength was measured not by wealth or power, but by the ability to act with love, empathy, and courage in moments that mattered most. Victor knew that the journey ahead would require dedication, patience, and reflection. He was ready to face it, guided by the lessons he had learned and the example set by Anya's selfless care. The incident with Leela had been a turning point, awakening him to the realities of life, love, and responsibility. He was determined to ensure that his actions moving forward would reflect the values he now held dear. The mansion, once filled with a sense of distance and routine, now felt alive with connection, care, and purpose. Victor had begun to understand that the most meaningful moments in life were not found in wealth or status, but in the love, attention, and recognition we give to those who matter most. And he was ready to embrace that understanding fully, starting with the people who had shown him the true meaning of courage, care, and devotion. Victor woke with a sense of purpose stronger than ever. The days following Leela's accident had changed him deeply, and he was determined to act in ways that truly reflected his newfound understanding. He had seen the courage, love, and devotion Anya showed, and he realized that these qualities could not be bought or replaced by wealth. They were human. They were priceless. The morning began with Victor sitting down with Anya to discuss her family's well-being. He wanted to ensure that her children had opportunities, that her family felt secure, and that she herself felt valued and respected. He arranged for a comfortable home for her family, educational support for her children, and financial assistance that would allow her to focus on caring for them without worry. Anya was overwhelmed with gratitude but remained humble, insisting that her primary concern was always Lila's safety. Victor smiled, realizing that her selflessness was a rare and beautiful quality. Later that day, he spent quality time with Lila in the garden. They laughed, played, and shared stories, as if making up for lost time. Victor noticed how quickly Lila's energy returned, how resilient she was, and how much she needed his presence more than anything else. Every smile, every question, and every hug became precious to him. He felt a sense of fulfillment that no business deal or social event had ever brought him. In those moments, Victor understood the true meaning of life's richness. Anya continued to support them quietly, always attentive, always caring. Victor observed her patience, her subtle gestures, and the way she anticipated Lila's needs. He realized that her contribution to their lives went far beyond her role as a maid. She had become a guardian, a source of comfort, and a true friend. Victor felt a deep sense of respect for her, knowing that her actions had saved Leela and strengthened the bonds within his family. Victor also focused on rebuilding his relationship with Isabella. They spent time discussing parenting, responsibilities, and ways to support each other. Victor realized that being present as a father also meant being a supportive partner. Together, they planned routines that would allow them to spend more meaningful time with Lila. They agreed to share responsibilities, communicate openly, and ensure that their daughter always felt loved and valued. This partnership, built on understanding and commitment, brought a sense of stability to the household. Throughout the following weeks, Victor's transformation became evident. He dedicated specific hours each day to Lila, engaging in activities she loved, reading stories, and sharing meals. He also ensured that Anya and her family were supported in ways that made their lives easier and more secure. Victor's actions were genuine, motivated by gratitude, love, and respect rather than obligation. His presence and involvement created a harmonious environment in the home, filled with warmth, laughter, and care. One afternoon, Victor invited Anya to sit with him and discuss ideas for broader impact. He wanted to create programs that would ensure children's safety and recognize unsung heroes in the community. They talked about initiatives that could help families support caregivers and educate people about the importance of presence and vigilance. Victor realized that the lessons he had learned were not just personal, but could benefit many others. He was determined to turn a personal tragedy into a positive force for the wider community. As time passed, Lila's recovery continued, and her bond with Victor strengthened. She grew more confident and joyful, knowing that her father was present and genuinely interested in her life. She also remained close to Anya, whose consistent care and attention had given her a sense of security. The household felt alive with connection, understanding, and love. Victor saw firsthand how attention, empathy, and human care could transform lives. Victor's recognition of Anya's heroism became a central part of their story. He shared her example with others, praising her courage and dedication. He made sure she was acknowledged in ways that honored her work without making her uncomfortable. Victor realized that true gratitude was not just about rewards, but about recognition, respect, and dignity. He wanted Anya to know that her actions mattered, that they had changed lives, that they were deeply appreciated. The experience also influenced Victor's perspective on wealth and power. He understood that money alone could not create love, safety, or trust. These things were built through action, attention, and care. Victor became more mindful of his choices, prioritizing relationships over business whenever possible, and using his influence to foster positive change. He began supporting programs for children, caregivers, and families, ensuring that the lessons he had learned would reach others who could benefit from them. Evenings in the mansion were now filled with laughter and stories. Victor, Lila, Isabella, and Anya shared meals, played games, and simply enjoyed each other's company. The atmosphere was warm, supportive, and full of life. Victor felt a deep sense of fulfillment, realizing that these moments of genuine connection were far more meaningful than anything his wealth could buy. He had learned that the most important achievements in life were not measured in money or status, but in the love and care we give and receive. Victor also dedicated time to mentoring others within his company and community, emphasizing the importance of empathy, recognition, and human care. He shared the story of Leela's accident and Anya's heroism, highlighting the lessons learned about presence, courage, and gratitude. His story inspired others to value relationships, pay attention to the people around them, and act with compassion in critical moments. Victor's personal transformation became a source of positive influence, extending the impact far beyond his immediate family. One quiet evening, Victor sat on the terrace with Lila and Anya, watching the sunset. The colors reflected on the water and painted the sky with warm hues. Lila leaned against him, laughing at a small joke, while Anya smiled quietly nearby. Victor felt a profound sense of peace. He knew that life's true richness was found in these moments of love, care, and human connection. He understood that he had been given a second chance to be the father, partner, man he wanted to be. Victor thought about the journey they had all been through. The accident had been terrifying, but it had also revealed the strength, courage, and love that existed within their lives. He had learned that heroes could come in unexpected forms, that gratitude and recognition could transform relationships, and that being present mattered more than anything else. These lessons had reshaped his life, guiding him toward a future filled with care, empathy, and meaningful connection. As night fell, Victor watched Lila sleep peacefully, Anya sitting nearby, and Isabella reflecting quietly in the background. He felt a deep sense of clarity, purpose, and responsibility. The events of the past days had been a turning point, teaching him that true power was measured not by wealth or status, but by the love, care, and courage we show to those around us. He promised himself to continue living with this understanding, ensuring that every day he spent with his family and those he cared for would reflect the lessons he had learned in the days that followed. Victor continued to build on the changes he had made. Lila's laughter filled the house, Anya's quiet presence provided stability, and Victor's engagement created a sense of security and joy. Isabella and Victor worked as a team, ensuring that their daughter's needs were met with love and consistency. The mansion, once filled with distance and routine, now became a home filled with warmth, connection, and genuine care. Victor had come to understand that life's most valuable moments were those of love, compassion, and attention. The incident with Leela had been a catalyst, awakening him to the importance of presence, gratitude, and courage. He knew that the lessons he had learned would guide him for the rest of his life, shaping the way he approached relationships, responsibilities, and the world around him. And as he watched his daughter sleep peacefully, with Anya and Isabella nearby, He understood that the true meaning of wealth was not measured in money or possessions, but in the bonds we nurture, the lives we touch, and the love we share.